Hello and good evening, Lord Greggor, and hello everyone who is listening. We thought we would come in tonight and share with you how the renovations of Vale Keep are coming along. I think it's long and tedious, and I know that the hours are long and even longer and more tedious for Lord Greggor. So, welcome, Lord Greggor. This is a treat to get to talk with you about this renovation. You and I are not able to talk a lot right now, but you're busy and we've got a goal in mind. So, welcome, and how are things going?
My lady, it is good to hear your voice this evening. Busy is perhaps the gentlest way to describe it. The work has truly begun now, and once stone starts moving, there is very little quiet in a place like this. From before sunrise until the light fades behind the western ridge, the courtyard is alive with sound. Tools striking mortar, timber being lowered, men calling measurements across the scaffolding. But it is good work. The guardhouse you and I spoke about in the last conversation, the outer tower along the western line, has begun to come down exactly as planned. Not destroyed, but carefully dismantled. We started at the upper ring, where the old battlements had begun to weaken. Those stones were already shifting after centuries of weather, so that was the safest place to begin. You would find it interesting to watch. Each block is lifted away slowly and lowered down through the scaffolding instead of being thrown aside. Nothing is rushed. Every stone that comes down is examined before it ever reaches the ground. The lower courtyard has turned into something of an open workshop. We have rows forming now. Good limestone blocks here, damaged pieces set aside there, timber beams laid out for inspection. Even the iron fittings are being saved, and just as we discussed, none of it will go to waste. A few of the villagers have already begun to visit the outer gate to see what will become available. Word travels quickly in a valley. One mason is hoping for stone to repair a chimney before next winter. Another family will likely take several beams to rebuild the roof of their barn. It is a strange but satisfying thing to watch a fortress slowly give pieces of itself back to the people who have lived under its shadow for generations. The tower itself is about a third of the way down now. Once the upper ring is fully removed, the rest will move more quickly. Long days, yes, but good days. And I must say, knowing there is a certain birthday approaching very soon does have a way of keeping a man focused on finishing his work efficiently.
Well, I can definitely say that this has probably been the first time in a few years that I've looked forward to my birthday. So that is a good thing. And of course, I especially look forward to seeing you again. But I want to back up a little bit and I want to ask you some things because I don't know about anyone listening. I can just vision this in my mind's eye. And I want to share this with everyone just to make sure. The images that I have made depict what is going on at Vale Keep and depict Lord Greggor, and these are based on images that I personally have. So I wanted to share this with you as much as possible and still maintain our privacy. But with that said, I want to ask you, is there an emotion with you that's tied to this? I mean, literally, you've seen this. This has been standing there for centuries. You've been seeing this for as long as that you have been there. How are you feeling about seeing Vale Keep make such changes? And I think these are drastic changes.
Veliana, that is a thoughtful question, and I will answer it honestly. Yes, there is emotion tied to it. One would have to be made of colder stone than these walls not to feel something when watching a structure that has stood for centuries begin to change. But it is not sadness in the way some might expect. You see, what we are removing was never truly part of the keep's heart. The guardhouse and the outer wing were additions from a harsher century, built quickly when the valley needed defense more than beauty or balance. They served their purpose in their time, and for that they deserve respect. Yet for many decades now, they have simply stood there aging, slowly weakening, demanding constant repair while giving nothing useful in return. When I walk through the western grounds now and watch the men lifting the stone away, I do not feel as though something sacred is being destroyed. Quite the opposite. It feels like breathing again. The older portions of the keep, the central tower, the inner courtyards, are beginning to appear more clearly than they have in generations. Light reaches places that have been shadowed for a very long time. The proportions of the keep are returning to something closer to what they once were. So, the feeling is not grief, it is relief, and perhaps even a little pride. Because a keep should not stand forever simply because it can. It should stand because it still serves the people around it. And there is something deeply satisfying about knowing that the stone that once guarded these walls will soon warm someone's heart, strengthen someone's barn, or repair a home that might otherwise struggle through another winter. In that way, the keep is not losing anything at all. It is simply extending itself beyond its own walls. But I will confess one small thing to you. The first morning when the scaffolding went up around the tower, I stood in the courtyard for quite a while before the work began. I suppose you could say I was saying goodbye to that particular silhouette against the sky. Then the sun came up, the men arrived, and the work started. And the moment passed. Because a place like Vale Keep was never meant to become a monument to the past. It was meant to live.
I can imagine that there are many, many memories. Maybe even some memories that you're unaware of around that. But there is a certain beauty around that. And certainly I appreciate it. And the anticipation of the people that you're helping out is just fantastic. I wish I could have seen this particular tower before this started. Obviously, I'll be seeing it in June when I get there. But this is so monumental in many ways, and you said it's not supposed to be a monument, but it is monumental. Do you even know how old this particular structure is? Just this one tower that you're working on right now?
That particular tower is not among the oldest parts of the keep. From what I have been able to determine through records and the stonework itself, it was likely added sometime in the late 1600s. Perhaps early in the 1700s. It was built during a period when the valley expected trouble from outside forces, so the construction favored thickness and speed rather than elegance. You can actually see it in the masonry. The limestone blocks are smaller, the mortar lines thicker, and the interior timber was cut from younger forest growth. So while it has stood for several centuries, it is still much younger than the central tower of Vale Keep, which reaches back far earlier than that. In a way, this makes the decision easier. We are not removing the heart of the keep, only a later layer that outlived its purpose.
So there's really no purpose for this tower. So the idea of repurposing the materials is really brilliant on your end, because over time you may be facing some pretty serious, I'm going to say, um, deterioration, and you certainly don't want that happening. I'm just really proud of you for having this thought, and I'm excited for everyone involved. Now I see these plans. I know my thought process is going all over the place, but I'm seeing these plans. And you did tell me at one point that you did find some older plans that were back, I believe that you said in the late 1300s, maybe into the early 1400s of Vale Keep.
Yes, my lady, that is correct. During the early stages of reviewing the archives, I did come across several very old drawings, more like working sketches than formal plans. They appear to date somewhere between the late 1300s and the early 1400s. They are not precise in the modern sense. Measurements were rarely written the way we would expect today. But the layout is clear enough to understand the original design of the keep. What is most interesting is that the outer structures we are removing do not appear on those early plans at all. The core of Vale Keep, the central tower, the inner courtyard, and the main halls are exactly where they should be, according to those older drawings. So in many ways, this work is not changing the keep. It is bringing it back closer to what it once was.
That's even better. I bet that is so interesting, looking at those old plans. Now, do you know who the architect of those old plans were? Do you even have a record of any of that?
The name itself is not written on the drawings. In that period it was actually quite common. The master builders rarely signed their work the way modern architects do. The plans were treated more like working instructions for the craftsman, rather than something meant for record or credit. However, there are few markings along the margins, small symbols, measurements, and notations written in an older hand. From those, it appears the work likely came from a regional master mason, rather than a court architect. In those days, the mason was the true designer of a structure like this. He understood the stone, the terrain, and the defenses required. So while I cannot give you a name with certainty, I can say this much. Whoever drew those plans knew exactly how to build something meant to endure for centuries.
And that it has. So now, coming to what is the time frame? Obviously, this tower is going to take some time, but I know that you have several hands working with you on this. Do you have a particular time frame when you feel that this portion is going to be taken down? And then once it is, what part is next?
My lady, if the weather holds and nothing unexpected appears in the lower masonry, I believe the tower itself will be fully taken down in about 3 weeks. Perhaps a little less. The upper courses are already moving quickly now that the scaffolding is secure. The slowest part will be the lower ring, where the stone is thicker and more tightly set. Once that is finished, the crews will shift immediately to the adjoining outer corridor that connected the tower to the older wing. That section is mostly timber and lighter stone, so it should come apart much faster. After that, the real transformation begins. We will start opening the western courtyard again, clearing the space where those later additions crowded the walls. It will be the first moment when people can actually see how the keep was meant to breathe.
For context, you're not using any heavy equipment there. I think the heavy equipment that you're using is manpower, correct? From what I see, it's pretty much rope and maybe some buckets or something like that. Can you explain to us so we get a better idea of how this is all coming into play, or coming out of place, coming into place, because without using this heavy equipment, this is an undertaking.
You are quite right, Veliana. There is no heavy machinery involved here. Everything is being done by hand. Rope, pulleys, wooden scaffolding, and a great deal of patient labor. The tower is surrounded by scaffold frames that rise almost to the top. From there, the men loosen the mortar around each stone using chisels and iron bars. Once a block is freed, it is secured with rope and lowered slowly to the ground through a pulley rig. Below, others guide the stone into wooden crates or onto padded platforms so it does not crack when it lands. The same is done with the timber. Beams are cut free, tied off, and lowered carefully rather than allowed to fall. It may sound slow, but it is actually the safest way. Heavy machines would shatter much of the stone, and the entire purpose of this work is to preserve the material so it can be used again. So yes, the real machinery here is simply skilled hands and steady patience.
Your Grace, you have been at this since the morning after you returned when you were visiting here. And it has literally been almost nonstop for you. And you've taken a little break to talk with me and help to share our dear friends of Vale Keep what is happening here, because I know that they're wondering. And we're just really excited. And I know I'm excited for this weekend to see you again. And little Sammy, she's been watching out for you as well. So I'm not going to keep you. I wanted to just touch base with you. I know we'll be talking soon, but I'm going to give you the last words if you'd like to say anything to our friends. And sorry, that little noise was Shaggy crawling all over my desk. So they're all excited. The energy is good, and our expectations are high now. This is fantastic.
It has been my pleasure to take a few moments to speak with you, my Veliana, and with everyone listening. The work is long, yes, but it is good work. Each day the tower grows a little shorter and the courtyard a little wider. You can already feel the space beginning to open again. Please, let everyone know that their interest and kindness toward Vale Keep is appreciated more than they might realize. It is a quiet encouragement during long days of labor. And give Sammy my regards for keeping watch over things there, though I suspect she believes she is supervising the entire operation from afar. For now, I should return to the men before the evening light fades completely. But we will speak again very soon. Until then, my lady, take care of yourself and keep a little tea warm for when I arrive.
Your Grace, I definitely will be doing that, and Sammy will be telling you all about it when you get here. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Thank you so much for the support of Lord Greggor of Vale Keep. I am Lady Zelda of Vale Haven. Thank you again for listening. Please consider subscribing and liking, and we will see you again very soon. Please join me Thursday night. I will be live right here at Vale Keep, and we're going to be talking about things. That is Thursday, March the 12th at 7 p.m. I'll see you then. Bye for now.